Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Patriot Nation TV. I'm your host, Tim Davis, aka Professor X, your New Age Patriot with the 1776 attitude. Just one man, one opinion, trying to make sense of it all in this bizarro world. It is Friday, February 25th, 2022. And this show tonight is part 2 of wars and rumors of wars. The Biden war against Russia to cover up his many failures and the many failures of the New World Order, the Great Reset. So let me start off by saying this, as I always say on my other social media like Facebook, keep your eyes on the ball, folks. Keep your eyes on the ball. So with that being said, the world is about to understand the meaning of weak men create hard times. Yes, the whole world is about to understand the meaning of weak men create hard times. Joe Biden, Trudeau, all these petty tyrants. So the hot topic right now is Russia and Ukraine and all the war hawks in DC and around the world, all these New World Order globalists are just panting, dying to get their hands dirty. So before I dive into that a little bit further, let's talk about the other thing that's going on, the distraction. There's a lot of distractions going on. That's why I say keep your eyes on the ball. The alliance, the unholy alliance of China and Russia. Yep. Nobody wants to seem to talk about it. Maybe a handful of, not even a hand, maybe a handful of people talk about it, but everybody else is not talking about it. They're leaving it alone. So let me start off by saying this. China's government, throughout this whole fiasco in the Ukraine, China's government sought to maintain its delicate balancing act on the crisis by reiterating calls for diplomacy, while also approving imports of Russian wheat, which could soften the impact of Western sanctions. But yet, the Biden fools, the New World Order fools, the NATO fools, drove China and Russia together. They drove them together. These buffoons, these intellectual buffoons in faraway capitals actually drove China and Russia together. They really have. So just think a little bit about this China thing, which of course they will. One man, one opinion. I believe that they are going to invade Taiwan. It's just going to keep escalating. Here's a little couple of things you need to know about China. As of right now, China currently holds an estimated 84% of global copper. China also holds an estimate of 70% of corn, 51% of wheat, 40% of soybean, 26% of crude oil, and 22% of aluminum inventories. Ask yourself, why is China telling their people and having their government invest largely in commodities? Do they know something? Commodities. That's what they're doing. They're hoarding commodities. Do they know something that we don't know? Possibly. I don't know. But for China, it's a boon for the U.S. to be focused on a non-threat in Eastern Europe, away from where the real action is in the Indo-Pacific. For the military-industrial congressional complex in Washington, D.C., it is a win-win situation to have a crisis which fortifies American control over Europe, creates new problems for Russia, the new boogeyman, the enemy, generates additional demand for military hardware. The military, extends the life of an otherwise obsolete NATO. They're useless. They're weak. They're clowns. They're buffoons. NATO's weak. That's what they're doing. It extends the life of an otherwise obsolete NATO and deepens the wedge between Berlin and Moscow. For the Muslims, for the Muslim world, and in particular, President Erdogan of Turkey and the mullahs of Iran, the infidels, as they call us, the infidels, bickering amongst themselves creates significant new maneuvering space. In Erdogan's case, this is a fresh opportunity to play both sides at a time when he faces significant domestic challenges, both economic and social. For everyone else, the events in Ukraine are needless, even tragic, minus some game. Over here in the West, we got to pay attention. What I've noticed, nobody else is talking about. I think I heard one person talk about it, maybe two. Dr. Michael Savage. Dr. Michael Savage talked about it. And I think Tucker Carlson talked about it. But people aren't paying attention. What I've noticed is not one Western leader has condemned the actions of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, what he did this week. I mentioned it in episode 1, part 1 of this little series of the war and rumors of wars. Justin Trudeau took a so-called democracy and overnight turned it into a fascist dictatorship. And like I said previously, I'll do a show on him. That's what he did, though. Canada is now a fascist dictatorship under the guise of democracy. And not one Western leader has condemned the actions of Justin Trudeau. Why is that? I know why, but people will figure it out. But I must say, I love how most are not buying the war propaganda with Russia and Ukraine anymore. We as a people, as a global people, finally hit a point in history and internet permeation that everyone is like, nah, not again, not this time. Too many false flags throughout history since World War I. Nah, not again. And this brings me to want to say to all those people out there, Sean Hannity, all the other liberals. I'm going to say Sean Hannity because he's a warmonger, a war hawk. Those who want war are the ones who should go to the front lines. You go to the front lines. Sean Hannity, you got a son, he's 20s now. Let him go to war. Not my sons, not your sons. Your son go. Go ahead. Mark Levin, go ahead. I like Mark Levin. I'm just saying these warmongers who are participating in this false narrative and propaganda. You guys go to war. Send your kids, grandkids, or whatever you want to call them. There are too many people playing policy fantasy with Russia and Ukraine, and not enough people rejecting government as a solution to life problems. As the great Ronald Reagan said, government is the problem. They're meddling, their policies, their social engineering, their globalization. Government is the problem, not the solution. And it's just, like I said, too many people playing policy fantasy with Russia and Ukraine, not knowing what's going on. And, there's many things we could talk about with Russia. Russia, Ukraine, it's a 1,000-year thing. It's going on. Realistically, we can go back to Alexander the Great, 400 BC, but Russia, Ukraine. Ukraine wasn't even a country until after World War I anyway. When they, but this is going to bring me to, I'm going to get into some things. I guess I'll call it the hard to swallow pills. The hard to swallow pills of reality. One man, one opinion. If you disagree, leave a comment. If you agree, leave a comment. But the hard to swallow pills. I have many of them I want to talk about. Let's see if I can get this in within under 30 minutes. So one of the hard to swallow pills is this about America getting involved, entangling in these foreign affairs, especially Europe. Unfortunately, if we send troops to war, we'll be the young, conservative, constitutional-loving, God-fearing men and women that are sent. Those remaining behind in the States will be BLM and Antifa types. These soldiers, and I'm quoting Barack Obama, we need an army, a civilian army. Remember he said that back in 2012? These soldiers statewide will have no problem firing on innocent American citizens if ordered to do so. As Vice President Kamala Harris, when she was a senator, Maxine Waters, a bunch of Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, they ordered this back in 2020. We witnessed it all through 2020. Defund the police, all these mayors, all these liberal governors. Yes, these remaining behind, the BLM, Antifa types, these soldiers of the they're basically the brown shirts, they're American brown shirts. These soldiers statewide will have no problem firing on innocent American citizens if ordered to do so. It's just a fact. Can't even debate it anymore. And I'm going to start off by saying this. I'm really not a supporter of Putin. I don't like Putin, but I do believe and trust Putin more than I do a Democrat or a liberal Democrat. But I will say this, I'll be clear about it. Putin is without a doubt 100% a tyrant, a dictator, or whatever other name you want to call him. It is what it is. He is what he is. But what he's fighting for, I'm going to discuss. I think he's right. And I'm going to say this because there is so much dirt on the global politicians involved that are in Ukraine. And I hope it gets dumped all over online because the media's not going to report about it. Hunter Biden, think about it. Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, they all, Hillary Clinton, they all have their paws. They have their paws in the Ukraine, whether they're their sons and grandsons or son-in-laws they all have business with the Ukraine. They all have their paws in it. That's how dirty these global new world order globalists, politicians are, and it's in the Ukraine. So, think about Russia. Before Russia went in there, I mean, this goes back thousands of years. But, unfortunately, people, these so-called educated intellectuals, they can't see anything past 10 years ago, 2 months ago, forget 10 years ago. There's different things with Russia, with the Ukraine over the last 25, 30 years, more recently of the last, 8 to 10 years. So I'm going to say 7 quick things over those years. 1, Russia asked for security guarantees, but got no answer. Russia also asked for Minsk agreement, but no response. Russia asked to stop NATO expansion, but unfortunately, no reply. Russia requested to withdraw previous U.S. and EU sanctions to strengthen the economic ties with EU and U.S. and have failed to get attention from EU and the U.S. After 2014 coup d'etat that Obama, Biden administration and New World Order globalists funded by Soros put on them. 5, Russia wanted security and peace on the Russian people in Ukraine over Donetsk and Luhansk, but no answer. Continuous pressure on the buyers of Russian arms and ammunition was imposed on them. And more recently, Nord Stream 2 project was not going in a simple and smooth way. You know, that's just the last 20 years. There are certain limits to bear all those issues for years after years. The West is fully responsible for all this instability and confrontation, planned economy, planned destruction. I don't know, you tell me. But the West and the Western allies, led by America. I love America. Don't think I don't. I love my country. I always will love my country. I don't like my government, not this government. But they are fully responsible for the instability and confrontations that we see today. It clearly indicates the double standard game of the West, an act of hypocritical policy towards Russia. This is simple and clear observation, and I do not find any fault from Russia, from the Russian side. I don't find any fault in it. In response, Russia repeatedly got provoked. They were provoked, threatened, and confrontation from the West. They have been. I mean, they really have been. One man, one opinion. I'm just going by what I see in my 50 years. I was born into the Cold War, seen the Cold War go through into my 20s, and I see what's been going on ever since. It's almost like it's like nobody remembers the Cuban Missile Crisis. Remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? When we were willing to threaten war, World War III, over Russia's attempt to place missiles in Cuba, simply because they were 90 miles away from our shores. We were going to go to World War III in 1961-62 with Russia over the Cuban Missile Crisis, because they were 90 miles off our shore with missiles. But meanwhile, NATO and America is surrounding them from military bases. It's just nuts. And there's many reasons we can go on. So I'm going to talk about one reason in particular, the reason of why Russia want to take part of Ukraine. From a Russian point of view, like I said, I'm no fan of Russia. I'm no fan of Putin. I do trust him more than any Democrat alive today in our country. I do trust him more and believe him more than I do Biden, for many reasons, which I'll get to later on in the show. But the reason of why Russia wants to take part of Ukraine is the same reason of what USA did to Mexico. Taking Texas, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, or say UK, when they took islands from Argentina. Is geopolitics and resources. Bottom line, geopolitics and resources. Plain and simple, folks. And it's on the news because Russia can protect themselves and assert their sovereignty and fight back. Something that Mexico and Argentina could not do. So when it comes to US politics or UK politics against Russia politics, is ironic. It's ironic. Same thing, same scenario. And that's why I said I do not, I'm not a fan of Putin. I'm more of a fan of him than I am Biden or any Democrat, and this is the reason why. And I'm going to say this clearly. I'd rather have Putin as my president than Biden. For simple reasons, just like we all like Trump. Putin is a Russia first guy. Biden is an American last guy. Pardon me, folks. Dustin, how you doing, Dustin? Thanks for tuning in. Am I aware of the Cambridge? Good question. Honestly, I could say I'm not aware of that, no. But thank you for bringing it to my attention. I will look into that. Thank you, Dustin, and welcome to the show. Appreciate it. But as I was saying, the only reason I'd rather have Putin as my president than Brandon, because Putin puts Russia first. He's a Russia first guy. Brandon's America last guy. Trump was American first guy. That's why they hated him. Also, Putin has banned Jacob Rothschild and his banking cartel family from Russia, folks. He has. He banned them from Russia, kicked them out, kicked out these bankers. Remember, all wars are banker wars. I did a video on that. I'll post that in the top hand corner. All wars are banker wars. But one of my biggest things with Putin, why I like him, Dustin, it is hypocritical of you to talk about MSM if you aren't aware of Cambridge Analytic algorithm. Okay, that's fine. So anyway, what's your opinion? One man, one opinion. Okay, Dustin, I'll give you that. I guess I'm hypocritical, right? I don't know, what am I tell you? I'm going to argue with you. But one of the big things I like about Putin, he is a New World Order resistance guy. He is. He is. So with that being said, I'm going to say it like this. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the real threat to your freedom is not men hiding in caves in the Middle East wearing turbans, or the Russians invading Ukraine. That's not the real threat to my freedom or your freedom. It's not. It's from men wearing suits and ties in a faraway capital goal. The greatest threat to our national security and our constitutional republic sits in 68.34 square miles. It's called D.C., Washington, D.C. That's our biggest threats. As our first president, one of the founding fathers, the father of this country, George Washington, the best thing we could do in his farewell address was do not entangle in foreign affairs, especially European. If you look at the Russian invasion of Ukraine, a new Cold War arrives. As a new Cold War arrives, Mr. Biden, because I'm not going to call him President Biden because he was not elected fairly. So I'm going to call him Mr. Biden. He gave this the other day, February 22nd, 3 days ago. Mr. Biden said the U.S. will impose full blocking sanctions on a Russian military bank. The State Development Corporations is also cutting off Moscow from Western financing through sanctions on Russian sovereign debt. But the fine print in the Treasury announcement Tuesday, like I said 3 days ago, said the ban applies only to debt issued by Russia after March 1st. It's not even March 1st yet. That's Tuesday. So all these sanctions, it's smoke and mirrors. It's smoke and mirrors. It's not even real. It appears previously issued debt can still be traded in secondary markets, as we are still buying. As this day, we're still buying oil and natural energy from Russia. Excuse me here, folks. Dustin has a lot to say. Let me see what he has to say. The real problem is conservative patriots thinking they are a superior race. Kyle being weaponized against liberals. The liberal versus conservatives exactly what China wants. Okay, so obviously, Dustin, I appreciate you coming on. You have a lot to say. And apparently you're a liberal. It's okay. I'm not, you know what? I forgive you because, to me, liberalism is a mental disease. So it is what it is. You're a liberal. You got mental issues. You got totally got mental issues. It is what it is. One man, one opinion. If you don't like it, whatever. That's what I see. That's why I call it. So this brings me to, I'm at 26 minutes. I'm trying to get this under 30 minutes. what's his name? Hermann Goring during the Nuremberg trials when he was prisoner of war in his diary. he wrote this. He wrote this in his diaries. I'm quoting him. Naturally, the common people don't want war. But after all, it is the leaders of a country who determine a policy. And it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy or a fascist dictatorship or a parliament or a monarch or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of their leaders. That is easy, he says. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifist for a lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in every country. Hermann Goring. Prime example, Dustin Gilko. I just described you, pal, but thanks for coming on. It is what it is. And, we just got to wake up, people. This country, we got China. China will definitely invade Taiwan in the next couple of weeks. We're still buying oil from Russia. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so on and so on. Nobody talks about the tyrant up in north of me, because I preside in New Yorkistan, and the tyrant about 250 miles north of me, the tyrant who hides under the guise of democracy. I am not a liberal, you idiot. Okay, I'm an idiot, but the way you're talking, you seem like a liberal to me. What do I tell you? China made a deal with Russia? Absolutely. No duh. I mentioned that earlier. Everybody knows that China made a deal with Russia. I talked about that. Okay. So here you go. I'm not a liberal, you say, right? But then again, in the same comment, I hope when you people watching this, you got to check out these comments. He says he's not a liberal. I exposed him. He says, you people are so predictable. Who's you people? If you're not a liberal, what are you? You're not a libertarian, that's for sure, because libertarians don't want war. That's number one. You're definitely not a conservative. But who's your people? This guy's a clown. I think I'm going to waste my time with you. Just go ahead. I'm not going to even read your stupidity. I'm really not. So you asked me something stupid about if I knew something about the algorithms or whatever it was you mentioned, and you say I'm a hypocrite because I know nothing about it. Let me see what this idiot has to say. Conservatives think they're the superior race. Oh, yeah? Post your source on that. So if conservatives think they are the superior race, and I'm an idiot, and you're claiming to not to be a liberal, what are you? Other than a buffoon? You're a buffoon. Anyway, so you want to pose a question to me about being a hypocrite because I don't know, it's something that you mentioned to me. I'll pose something to you. What do you know about Mackinder's Heartland theory? You know anything about that? Mackinder's Heartland theory. It was before World War I. Okay? To give you a little something to look on. What the Council of Foreign Relations talked about already. England thinks they're a master race. Rob, there you go. Council of Foreign Relations. Yes, Rob Turbo, you're 100% correct. I've done many videos on that. But thanks for tuning in, Rob. I appreciate that. So I'm going to talk to this liberal who claims not to be a liberal. Dustin Gilko, who asked a question to me. So let me ask you, do you know what Mackinder's Heartland theory is? Or the Fabian Spencer's? I call them Fabian Spencers, but it's really Fabian Socialists because they're idiots. I'll give you a little hint on it. Look it up. Let me see what Dustin has to say. He goes, you've been programmed by Cambridge. That's what I am. You're right, sir. Yeah, you're right. You're a buffoon. Anyway, Mackinder's heartland theory is this. Who rules East Europe commands the heartland. Who rules the heartland commands the world island. Who rules the world island commands the world. Fast forward about 70 years later, Kissinger said something similar to that, just changed the words around. Liberalism versus communism, people. But anyway, we're getting off topic. I just want to give a quick rundown. I am over my 30-minute mark. Somebody tune out. It was good. I had a liberal come on. I was just breaking down the buffoonery. When you can't dazzle people with brilliance, they baffle them with bullshit. This war in the Ukraine is not our war. We need to stay away from it. Don't get involved. And like I was saying, the only people, unfortunately, if we send troops to war to fight a war, it will be the young, conservative, constitutional-loving, God-fearing men and women that's sent. Those remaining behind will be the BLM, Antifa types, the Dustin Gilko types who's commenting. These are the soldiers statewide. We'll have no problems firing them on you. And so on and so on. So I'm gonna tune out. I got off. I should have had this show over like 5 minutes ago, but I got drawn into buffoonery. So like I said, if you guys are new to the show, Rob Turbo is a new subscriber. I appreciate you, Rob. Thank you for tuning in. You know, I appreciate your support. Dustin, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your support too. You know, I like to debate you all night long, but it's useless. It's not going to get anywhere. And so if you're new to the show, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I got a few good shows coming up. I'm going to do them every other day. I'm still being censored by YouTube, Facebook, so on and so on. And, you know, thanks for tuning in, guys. So I'm gonna tune in. Let me just read this. Let me just read a couple of these comments real quick. This guy, Dustin Gilko. I'm gonna call you out, Dustin. You're a clown to me. But yeah, see this? Look, see that right there? That's you, buddy. What do you think I have him there? That's a buffoon. That's a clown. That's a jester. That's what you are. What did he say to me? What did he say to me? I'm pro-human. Okay, sure you are, pal. Then he says, who gives an F? You can't do basic fundamentals. No, I can't. You know what? You're right. I can't do basic fundamentals. You know what? I'm a product of my environment. I got a public education from liberal teachers in the 80s, you know, elementary school in the 70s, high school in the 80s, college in the early 90s. So I blame my lack of basic fundamentals on my public education. Okay? That's what it is. So if I can't understand the basic fundamentals, it's because of people like you support, the teachers, the teacher unions, and all these public figures who taught me. They you know, I guess they pushed me through grade school, pushed me through high school, pushed me through college. They took my money for college, whatever it is. You're right. I don't have the basic fundamentals. So I blame it on my environment. I blame it on my government for giving me this indoctrination. So you're right. I'm an idiot. You're right. I'm 100% idiot. I'm a moron. You're so smart. You're so brilliant. And it is what it is. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. Had a little bit of humor. Like I said, I'm an idiot, you know, a liberal buffoon. You know, liberalism is logic's retarded cousin. Dustin Gilko is proving that right now as I speak. Read the comments. You get a good laugh. And so I guess I'm going to tune out. I can't, I got to go to bed. It's getting late. I'm on the East Coast in New Yorkistan. And, let me add a couple more little things. So 35 minutes. I get it under 40 minutes. It's funny. These liberals, people like Dustin probably think guns are bad. Second Amendment's bad. Stuff like that. But here's the funny thing. In the Ukraine, the Ukrainian government is handing out AK-40, Kalashnikov, AK-47s to fight the Russians. One of the second or third most strictest country in the world The strictest gun laws are handing out guns to the civilians. The mayor of Kiev, the mayor armed himself. He says, I'm going to fight to the death. But here in America, people like this guy, Dustin, take your guns away. Hey, you're a buffoon, pal. It's a good one, Rob. True. It is surprising I can still think after college. I know. And the funny thing, Rob, about that, college and all, the degrees and all, whatever I studied, I don't even use them in my livelihood. It was a waste of time. But anyway, we'll save it for another time. So, like I said, I'm going to tune out, guys. Please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. It was a little entertaining here. Had a couple, had this retard on. So I'm going to tune out. As I always say, God bless you. God bless America. Stay tuned for part 3 of wars and rumors of wars, of what's going on in this world. Is it biblical? Coincidence? Or just pure evil? We'll discuss that on another show. So good night. God bless you. God bless America. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out. Good night.